Planet Vero Studio is powered by the Nolan Group of eXp Realty. MyNextHomeFinder.com. Cindy Grossman. New York City born and raised, luxury retail management was her game. Saks Fifth Avenue and Nordstrom were her jewelry playgrounds. Had enough at 38, fled to Miami, where Neiman Marcus Bal Harbour found her. Recruited to Mont Blanc, where her regional position challenged her. Met her husband 4 years ago, and Brevard County she did go. COVID hit, she needed a new career fit. Age-defying beauty with Mary Kay, she did say. And now, here's Cindy Grossman.
Hello, 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 and welcome to Mesmerize the Mirror at Any Age. Mitch, thanks so much for coming back.
Thank you for letting me return.
Thank you, of course. And Jesse, thank you so much for keeping us in line. Today is the show of all shows, I have to tell you. I'm very excited about today's show. We have Debby Montgomery Johnson. She is a victim's advocate. She is the founder of The Woman Behind the Smile and the director of the Society of Citizens Against Relationship Scams. SCARS. Very well put together there for that. Not only is The Woman Behind the Smile, this is her best-selling novel as well. Debby has gone through something that I guess we should say I wouldn't wish this on my worst enemy, because it was a terrible thing. And I don't want to give anything away in the introduction, because I want to let Debby tell her story. It's an incredible story, and I am just so honored to have you here. I mean, Debby has been in the Palm Beach Post. She's been featured on the Dr. Oz Show, CBS This Morning, the Tamron Hall Show. So I am honored to truly have you join us here today. Thank you, Debby.
Both of you, I'm really excited to be here.
Thank you. Thank you. Now, I really want, now we didn't give anything away, even in the introduction. I mean, we spoke a little bit of victims advocate and things like that, but how, let's back it up a little bit. What is your past? What have been your positions, your employment? Because I want people to really understand what we're going to talk about can truly happen to anyone.
Okay. Well, I'd like to say that I'm like most people here. I am a mother of four, a grandmother of four. I've had multiple jobs in my life, careers. I think my favorite was 11 years at home with my children, and that came after I had been a paralegal. I had been in the Air Force, 8 years in the Air Force intelligence officer. Then I stayed home with the kids, became a mortgage broker. And when I went back to work, my husband actually left the Air Force and was a contractor for the Air Force in Bosnia. And I went back to work as a bank manager just so we could have benefits. And then I moved from that into being from the bank to the school district. I was a senior treasurer for the Palm Beach County School District for many years. So that was my experience, and it was very interesting. I've learned a lot over my years, and but like I said, I'm just like many of us, where I've had those experiences, and then I'm here because my life changed in a big way. And I know we're going to go into it, but it started really back in 2010 when I was at a school district meeting. It was the end of the year. It was April 8th, 2010. And I turned my phone off, and only to go to a break at around 10:30 in the morning. And my phone was blown up with messages. And one of them was from my oldest son, who at the time was 23. He was in pilot training for the Marine Corps. And he left me a message, and the message said, "Mom, Dad just died.
Oh.
I'm coming home to take care of everything."
Oh.
And that was the moment that my life changed forever in a way that I never had expected. Absolutely. As you can imagine.
Yes, for sure.
So after that, the reason it really changed my life is because Lou had a business. He had a vitamin supplement company. It was his company. It paid all of our bills. My school district job was for benefits only. And I had not been a part of the company. So all of a sudden, in an instant, now I was in charge of this company and I didn't know how to run it. So that's where the banking and the all my careers came into play, because now I had to use all those resources that I had and some of the things that he left me to try to figure out how to keep this company going, in spite of now, being a single mom of 4 and running everything by myself, and trying to grieve as best I could. But I realize now that I probably didn't. I didn't have time. I didn't have time to grieve because I had to run the business. I had to keep my day job. I had to keep the kids straight wherever they were. At that time, I only had one left at home. My youngest was 15 and he was here. And it was an extraordinary time of survival. And I think I ran on anxiety and adrenaline, very little sleep, and did what I had to do to keep things going. And it was an important time for all of us.
Well, you certainly did well, because I know you're now the president of the company and the company is still going strong, and that's a wonderful thing. Absolutely. Do you want to tell us a little bit? Yeah. You want to tell us a little bit about the company?
Sure. It's a company that my husband started. He was actually diabetic, had neuropathy and sciatica and all sorts of issues, didn't want to be on a lot of medication. And so he studied, and he was a former Air Force officer, was a brilliant guy. And he researched a vitamin called benfotiamine. It's a synthetic form of vitamin B1. And it had been studied by a doctor up in New York, Dr. Brownlee, Michael Brownlee, and had been found to be very effective for neuropathy, which Lou was suffering from, and also sciatica. So as an entrepreneur, when he got out of the military, he was bound and determined to make as much money as he could working for himself. And so he founded a company, we called it at the time benfotiamine.net. And we created a vitamin supplement for neuropathy. Typically diabetics, 60% of diabetics have neuropathy. Now it's chemotherapy patients have neuropathy. And actually, just as a side note, 2 days ago, we just found out that they're doing a study. A grant was given by the National Institutes of Health to Dr. Gary Gibson to study benfotiamine for Alzheimer's, which is being classified by some as type 3 diabetes. So Lou ran the company from 2002 until 2010. And then when he passed away, boom, I was now in charge with no training how to run that company. So as an entrepreneur, I've learned a lot about making sure you've got resources in place and make sure you have a continuity plan. He left me 4 pages of, this is what we do, these are who our suppliers are, and these are who our largest customers were. And I had to figure it out from there. So anybody that's thrown into that situation, especially now, I had no passwords. He didn't keep real good records like I would. It was different. And so it was quite a learning curve, and I was thrown into it. And if anything changed in my life, it was how I looked at the company, how I look at entrepreneurs, how I look at, you and I are both members of Women's Prosperity Network.
Right.
There's no I in team. And I had to reach out and realize that even though I was a very self-sufficient person, I was not going to be able to run the company by myself. I needed guidance. I needed a board of directors. And that's where WPN came in. And it was extraordinary. So
excellent. That's great. Okay, so fast forward, we decide, I guess the friends get on your case. You have to get a life, right, Debbie?
6 months in, and it's really interesting. I've heard this from a lot of people, either widows or divorcees. About 6 months in, or a little bit longer sometimes, the friends start saying, get a life. You got to do something other than work. And that's what my friends did, because I was literally working 20 hours a day. I'd go to bed around midnight. I would sleep until 4, but really those 4 hours were the only hours of the day, every night, that I could cry, that I could I was actually angry at Lou for dying. Oh. And that's a terrible thing to say, but it was so sudden. He walked out the door one day and the next day he was dead. And I really didn't even say goodbye other than I'll see you tomorrow. And so I didn't know how to process that. And at night, I'd be lying there in my big bed, No pillows moved, no blankets moved. It was just me. And it was the only time I could really grieve and not have anybody question what's going on, because I found that when anybody said, "How are you?" I was falling apart. And so that's where I put up that smile and really became the woman behind the smile at that point, because I wanted to make sure that everybody thought I had things under control, because that's the way we're supposed to be. We're supposed to be in control and make sure that everything's fine. But when my girlfriend said, "It's time to get a life," they meant dating. And I'd been married for almost 26 years, and it was actually very daunting to think about dating again at 52. Because all those not enoughs that you felt like when you were 16 came flooding back. Regardless of my experience in business and everything else, it's like not smart enough, not pretty enough, not skinny enough, not all these things. And I'm thinking, oh my gosh, stop beating yourself up over this. But I did, and I think we all do. And when my girlfriend said get into online dating, I did actually think it was going to be safe, because I could do it from the safety of my home.
Right.
And I could kind of like cyber stalking. I'd be looking out there and I could put my profile together, which I did. I thought I put a very good one together that showed me and the kids and, my life. Boy, have I learned what you shouldn't put up on a profile.
Right.
But I wanted to show
and be honest.
people who I was.
Right.
Exactly. Be honest.
Yeah.
And I was looking for an honest, good guy.
Right.
Like Mitchell.
We are going to, like Mitchell. There you go. Perfect. Took me a long time to find him. We're going to take a quick break, and we will come back and we will learn what happens next.
Need an enlightening pick-me-up? Visit Kristen and Cindy at Skinergy to energize your skin and keep it looking fabulous forever. Kristen can help with hair removal, sugaring to keep your whole body smooth and conditioned. Kristen will help you refresh and defend your skin while giving you a customized facial. Cindy helps skinergize and get you camera ready for your everyday look or special occasion. Visit Kristen and Cindy at Skinergy. Find them on Facebook under the Skinergy Squad.
At Compass Pest Control, we focus on killing pests where they live and breathe by terminating them outside your home or office before they can get in. Hi, I'm Chris Hudman, owner of Compass Pest Control. We prevent roaches, ants, and other pests from getting inside with a proactive approach. We don't stop there. We also offer lawn and plant health programs, and we'll never sell you something you don't need. At Compass Pest Control, our prices are competitive, your satisfaction is guaranteed. Get a free estimate. Visit compasspests.com.
Who's got time to clean? When you need it clean, call Germ Wizards LLC. Using the most up-to-date equipment, Germ Wizards pays strict attention to detail. They make dust disappear. Whether you need your office to sparkle, your home to shine, or you want to give someone a great gift, hire the Germ Wizards. It's easy to get a quote online. There's even an online portal to discuss details directly with your cleaning professional. Visit GermWizardsLLC.com. Make dust disappear with Germ Wizards.
Summer is here, and it's a great time to create your outdoor room at Sunshine Furniture. Now, during our July clearance sale, you can save an additional 10% on all in-stock patio furniture from Lloyd Flanders, Woodard, Windward, Beechcraft, Pollywood, Berlin Gardens, and more. We're the outdoor furniture experts and have anything you need, all built to withstand the Florida elements, and we also specialize in cushions, umbrellas, outdoor rugs, and fire pits. For inside, we have the largest selection of coastal sofas, sleeper sofas, dining sets, recliners, and bedroom groups in light and airy coastal colors by Four Seasons, Capri, and Universal, including a gallery of Tommy Bahama. Come in now for our July sale, including 50% off all pictures, lamps, and accessories. Sunshine Furniture, $12.95 US 1 in the Publix Plaza, Vero Beach. Visit our website at sunshinefurniturecasual.com. Also, don't forget our outlet and sales center right across the street.
Sunshine Furniture.
The law offices of Goldman, Monahan, Tucker, and Bettine is here to help you with your personal legal challenges, business needs, and real estate matters. Since 1984, we have assisted countless numbers of Florida individuals and businesses with their legal issues, from trusts and estates, wills, real estate, and civil or criminal litigation. We pride ourselves on maintaining lifelong client relationships and would appreciate the opportunity to assist you and your family as well. Please call 321-639-1320 for further information on the law offices of Goldman, Monahan, Tucker, and Bettine. I'm a non-attorney spokesman.
And we are back with Debby Montgomery Johnson talking about what happened once she went on the dating site. Now, here comes the reality of the whole situation, I should say. Right, Debby?
Exactly. And people always ask me, would you do it again? And I think online dating is an interesting way to do dating at our age. I think everybody does it now, but 10 years ago, it was still one of those things where I was a little skeptical about it, and I never really told anybody that I was doing it. I was pretty quiet. But I was looking for a really good guy. I was looking for, someone that was well-educated, someone maybe that traveled, someone, a business person like myself. And I went to a safe site, as I thought. It was a faith-based dating site. And I'd heard from all my friends that had been on it. They met significant others. They'd had good experiences. So I figured, well, it's good. This is safe. And when I got on it, I was a little annoyed or surprised, is a better word, that the men between 55 and 65, they couldn't write. I used to laugh at, they couldn't write worth beans is the way I put it, or more like a fifth grader. Or they were showing up in the wife beater t-shirts, the t-shirts without sleeves, or hanging on motorcycles with other women. I'm like, ew, this is not who I want. And
Did they show pictures of fish that they caught as well? No, just kidding.
Some probably did, but those weren't the guys I was looking for. I don't fish. I actually get sick on the water. But I was contacted by a really nice looking gentleman from London. He was an international contractor, businessman, had lost his wife and had one son. And we started a conversation on the dating site. We stayed on the dating site for a little bit. And then he was in Houston. That's the story. He was in Houston and he got a job over in the Far East. He was going to be moving hardwood trees. And it sounds funny, but I actually had investments in trees in Costa Rica, which he did not know about. So when I heard about what he did and I researched the company that he worked for, had a really good website. I actually called the company and said, do you have a contractor named Dr. Eric Cole? And they said, no. And when I questioned that, he said, well, I'm a contractor. I don't work specifically for the company. I work with them. And then I'm thinking, well, that makes sense. It's plausible that they wouldn't have a contractor's name on their list. So I had done some due diligence. And then when he, a couple weeks in, I've lost track of time. It's been so long. But he was moving over to he got this contract and he was going over to Malaysia. He was going to be moving some trees from Malaysia over into India, which I thought was pretty cool. It was an international experience. He was supposed to have it done in a couple of weeks. And then he would be home in England and then come over here to the States in time for Christmas. So this was about the middle of November this was going on. And we had an extraordinary conversation all day Thanksgiving. I'm thinking, here, I've got this gorgeous Brit, and I'm going to tell him all about Thanksgiving in America. So one thing led to another, and as he was doing his business, he was having some issues. And as a business owner, I know sometimes you don't get paid for a job until you're done. And so when he was having some trouble financially and said, I don't have access to so-and-so, and when the money comes in, we're gonna put it in an account, we're gonna send, they needed power of attorney for me because some of the stuff was coming here to the States. And it all sounded so extraordinary and legitimate. And even when I questioned him on certain things, he always had an answer as to why something did or didn't work. And to put it out there, this went on for 2 years. And I hadn't seen him because something always came up. But again, I was at a point where it was safe for me to not have anybody here, if that makes sense. I wasn't quite ready at the beginning to have a physical relationship, but I was ready to have a friend, a companion, a confidant for the company, a confidant for the kids. It was my one way of talking about Lou and the kids and dealing with his death and dealing with, you're going to love this, but 2 months prior to him passing, he had canceled his life insurance. Oh. And we'd been paying it for 35 years, and he aged out of an age category, and the premium went from $100 a month to $500, and he refused to pay it. And I'm thinking, but we still have 4 kids. And he goes, well, we've got investments. And I didn't want to fight him. So he canceled his life insurance. Mm-hmm. And after he died, my father's like, well, call them up. I was like, no, there's a big red X over my name, because he was so adamant when he called them that there's no way they're going to, even if I paid the premiums, they're not going to do it. So anyway, what I had left after he died was the company, and that's why it was so important for me to figure out how to run it. And when Eric was the name of the gentleman, it's a name that's used quite often, Eric Cole. Eric and I would talk about business, and we would talk about business plans, and we would talk about companies, and it was an interesting. It wasn't just family life that we talked about. It wasn't just love we talked about. It was life. And I have 4,000 pages of journal that chronicles that 2 years. And the most important part, I guess we're going to get at this because we're going to run out of time, there's just so much to talk about, is in the process of this financial thing, Eric needed a loan. And every time I had given him some money, except for the very first time, which was a request to help one of his buddies, who was an engineer, get onto the dating site. The fellow was overseas and he was having a hard time. So he said, would you send a check in to the dating site? It was like, I don't know, $50, $60, if that. I said, sure. Because at that point, I'm thinking, the more the merrier. We need more guys on this website. And so I sent a check in. I'll explain that later on, why that wasn't such a good idea. But that's considered in this whole scheme the first ask. They want to see, are you willing to help out? And I had no reason, I had never heard of online scams as far as dating back then. In 2010. Never heard of that. None of my friends, my mother even, my mother's best friend was in her late 70s, and she met her husband online. And my mom was all for it. And I'm thinking, well, if my mother's okay with this, then I'm going to jump in. Right. So yeah. Over the next couple of weeks, Eric had asked me for some things. And the very first little argument we had was over a fairly good size ask. It was $2,500 that he wanted me to send to his attorneys, I love attorneys, to set up a power of attorney. I love in-person
set up
attorneys.
Power of attorney. This is getting very serious.
Yeah, it was serious because it was a business transaction, and I had done power of attorneys when I worked for the law firm, but they didn't cost $250 or $2,500. Right. But it was international, and I had to justify that the international law was different, and I believed him. There was no reason why I shouldn't believe him at that point. And so I ended up going to Western Union, which I had never done before. And that for me was a little bit scuzzy. But he walked me through it. And that was the beginning to a very expensive 2 years.
All right. Now we are going to run out of time, but just to let our listeners know, and on the live stream, we are doing a part 2 to this. So stay tuned to hear what happens to Debby, the woman behind the smile. We need to hear about it. This is getting great. This is getting good. And I have to tell you, I was on dating sites for 30 years. So I know how it can be so, it could be so wonderful, but on the other hand, it could be so dangerous. But we'll be back. Stay tuned.